I guess the biggest part you shared about your accounting firm, but the thing that had me want to have you on today and have a conversation with you is because in every conversation that we've had or every area that we've talked about that you are involved in, there is just such generosity in everything that you do, you know, whether it's in sport or business or networking or anything that I've known you in. I'm curious if that's like something that you've grown up with in an environment like that, or it's a way you go about business and where that kind of just genuine, that generosity comes from.
Look, I suppose it's sort of born from, you know, my passion for sport and business was, I mean, I originally got my job through sport, you know, so I've only ever had 2 jobs, like in 35 or 34 years. So I worked for Coles as a kid when I was 15.
Yeah.
And then I was playing cricket at the Devon Meadows Cricket Club, and a guy basically gave me a job. Like, I've never done a job interview. I just sort of was playing cricket for Devon Meadows. I met a guy and on a Saturday night, and the Monday I started working. Like, so I suppose, you know, because Kerry was generous to me, you know, I just sort of think that's you know, that's an ethos that I want to follow myself in sport and in business. Yeah, because there's lots of correlations between the two. And so we've been very lucky in business that a lot of people that I know through sporting clubs, you know, they come to Highview to get their tax done or their financial planning done or their finance done. So sport and business for me is a connection thing. So people have been very generous with me and very kind to me, trusting me with their finances and with their wealth creation and with their tax. So it's just an extension of that, really, why I choose to be like I am. You know, because people have been good and kind and generous to me. So I just think that that's my duty to be kind and generous back.
Yeah, you've just followed suit in the way that you've been treated, and now, yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So, and the sport piece, you know, I've got a love of sport, any sport, and you know, sporting people just seem to be my style of people, I suppose. You know, they're all relatively down to earth, easy to deal with. So they're sort of my style of people to deal with in a business sense. So hence why, you know, we've always been involved in sporting clubs, because people that are involved in sporting clubs and community clubs, they just seem to be predominantly very down to earth and good people, and giving of themselves. So, you know, why wouldn't you want to be involved with people like that?
I completely agree.
Really selfless. So it's quite inspiring to be around people like that, because it inspires you to do those kinds of things. You know, so I've met some amazing people through sporting and community groups that are very, you know, generous of their time and generous of their skills. So yeah, I've just followed that path.
Yeah. It's like, I so relate to that, you know, being in an environment where, like a networking environment or a business environment where people are like-minded, where, you know, sport's something that they value or that they appreciate, that whole world just makes it so much easier to connect and so much more natural. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a really good way to describe it. I mean, people that are in those kinds of environments, they aren't natural people. They're just they're just simple to get along with, easy to get along with. They're very giving of themselves and very you know, easy to deal with.
And networking's not like a chore when it's like that, because you're actually around people that you naturally will have a good conversation with or naturally have interests with, and as a result, relationships open up, or opportunities or collaborations open up. Has that been your experience too?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a massive trust factor. So, Cranbourne has, grown significantly over time, but it's still a very much a small town mentality, so that, so we've heard over COVID, like support local. Well, Cranbourne people do that anyway. Like it didn't have to become, a COVID time for people to support local. Like local Cranbourne people are they're such loyal people. So if you do the right thing, I mean, so I've had customers that have been with me for 29 years. So I've been doing this for 29 years and they've been customers for 29 years. And what we're finding is that, like their children, so there's like a new generation of clients, because they send, their kids. So,
Wow.
I mean, we just hired a granddaughter of one of our clients.
Oh my goodness, you are doing something right if you've got clients for 29 years.
So she's, so I, dealt with her grandparents and obviously her parents.
Yeah.
She's starting an accounting degree. We needed a new person and we've hired her. So not dissimilar to how Kerry hired me. I just know the family and I know, 2 generations of family. So, I mean, if she's anything like them, well, she's going to be a great employee.
Yeah, amazing.
She's a lovely kid, and just a lovely kid, like a lovely kid. But again, sport. So her family were involved in sport. Her grandfather was involved in local sport. Her dad was involved in local sport. She's still involved in local sport. Like she's a 19-year-old girl that coaches an underage netball team. So again, she's giving of herself. As a 19-year-old girl, that's a pretty big commitment to make, to coach, I think, an under-13s netball team. There's lots of different things you could be doing as a 19-year-old as compared to coaching netball. She's made that, pretty selfless decision. So they were all considerations when we were thinking about putting someone on, and we didn't interview anyone else. We just basically gave her a job.
Yeah. I think it's so, when at work or in business, it's easy to kind of think about your network as only people that you know specifically in business or people that you've met at your job. However, networking or networks are so much broader than that. And I think you're showing such a perfect example of that. It's everywhere and everyone, and in the things that you're interested in, inside, outside work, all of it.
Yeah, well, look, networking, sort of it's been a buzzword, for a long time, networking groups and things like that. But realistically, networking is just communication and relationships. To me, so you meet someone, you talk about stuff and you connect. And so it could be about sport, it could be about politics, it could be about business. But, and ultimately, one of the things where I suppose accountants are a bit lucky with legislation, you have to get your tax done every year. So whether you use Highview or whether you use someone else, you have to get it done. So we want to make that experience for people the best that it can possibly be, because we don't want to separate ourselves on price. We want to separate ourselves on value. So how do they value their relationship with Highview? So they generally will value their relationship with the person that they deal with. And Highview is just a facilitator of that. So if you ask most of my clients, if you ask them who their accountant was, they probably wouldn't say Highview. They would probably say Silvio. And that's okay. And then you introduce your team to some of these clients that obviously need a little bit more assistance. And in the people that work for us, I mean, there'd be easy 15 or 20 people that have been with us for more than 10 years. So again, I think we've built a pretty good culture. If people are staying, I think we've obviously providing an environment for them to stay and to thrive. And that's really, really important to me, because again, I go back to that. Kerry gave me an opportunity when I was still at uni and I really didn't know what I was doing, but he gave me a chance, and and it's led to this.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing. I've just taken that first initial opportunity absolutely by the horns and taken on the behaviour and just absolutely run with it.
Yeah.
Have you found mentors or people that you've looked up to, or even I'm curious about, that ethos around the culture piece for you now in your firm and the way you've been able to keep loyal clients? Is there people that you sort of have observed that do that really well, or mentors along the way that you've taken advice, tips from?
I read a lot. I used to read a lot on planes, but I don't do that much anymore.
No.
Hoping to do that soon.
Yeah.
So I like reading, obviously, autobiographies. Now, generally, you're reading an autobiography about a sporting person because that's a passion. But successful sports people have got very similar traits to successful business people. So they've obviously got discipline, they've got skill, they've got application, they've got resilience, they've got leadership. So all of those traits. So you sort of read and things like that about successful people. But then, I like to read about business books. So, I follow a lot of stuff by Simon Sinek and Brene Brown, and people that have got this way of explaining things, and they're generally relatively simple concepts, but they explain and they ask and they monitor. So the one that sticks out to me about culture, so in one of Simon Sinek's books, he was talking about a kid that was working at two different casinos, so the same kid, and he was a barista, and he spoke about at one of the casinos, he was bright and bubbly and, really great with the customers, and he was really engaging. He then saw the same kid a couple of days later at a different casino, and it was like a different kid. So he was like disengaged. He was just there to do his job and leave. And so this sort of got the better of him. So we sort of had to ask him why this same kid was,
who's this guy?
two different personalities. And he said at one of the casinos, the managers and owners were great to deal with, great to work for. They asked questions, they wanted to know who you were, and they wanted to know you as a person. And they encouraged, talking and having fun and being engaged. And the other casino was like nothing. They didn't speak to any employees. It was very cold, and they were just paying you to do a job, and they didn't really care about you as a person. So this is the same kid doing the same thing. So he's making coffees at one casino and he's making coffees at another. So a hard-working kid because he's got two jobs. But yeah, completely different experience. So that, so little things like that, really stick out to me. So to be able to try and provide the best culture that you possibly can is really important. And I have I suppose a mentor or a guidance guy that I go to on a quarterly basis, and I like to have that. So there's no emotion to it for him. So he's not involved in my business. So I can talk to him very freely about stuff without the fear of being judged, so I can be very vulnerable with him. Sometimes you're not as vulnerable as you should be with your fellow partners. Not all the time. I mean, sometimes you do hold possibly a little bit back, not a lot, and it's, again, but as your relationship grows with your partners, you get better and better and better and become more vulnerable. So pieces like that through Brene Brown and even Ben Crow, there's some fantastically smart people that you can learn lots of things from. So I love to read, and I love to take notes from those, and I then read back some of those notes that I've taken. So I don't necessarily have to read a book again. I've taken the notes that I need, and I review them at times. So there might be times where you're not, you're not at your best, and you know that. So again, the very simple analogy of a traffic light. So when you're at the green and you're going well, and you just go, but it's when you see an amber light in yourself that you have to make a decision. Do you rush towards the red, and then that's probably bad, or do you just reset, wait for the green again, and move forward? So that emotional intelligence can be difficult from a Sicilian background. let me assure you. But that's that. Am I better at it than I was 10 years ago? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will I be better in 10 years' time? I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, and it sounds like the constant education and upskilling and bringing in of knowledge just allows you to realign if there's an amber light, or just to be mindful and to bring yourself back. I mean, it's every day, and there's new challenges and things that come up. So it sounds like that's a super helpful way to keep you on track with that, and so you can support yourself and the rest of the team too.
Yeah, well, there was a guy I went to see, and his name escapes me. It was John Maxwell. John Maxwell. So he said that if you're any sort of leader, you got to rate yourself out of 10. And he said if you're a 7 out of 10 leader, he said your people can only possibly be a 6. So you're capping their growth. So that, again, there's certain things that people say to you that stick in your head. So I thought to myself, geez, if I was a 7 out of 10 leader at that point in time, well, I've got to strive to be an 8 and a 9. You're never going to be a 10. That's impossible. I think that's impossible. But I can be a 9. So I've got to strive to be a 9. So if I strive to be a 9, and then I can bring my team with me to be 8s, well, that would be pretty good.
I love how thoughtful you are as a leader, and aware of your own behaviour and the way that you're impacting everyone else in the team. It's super impressive. Have you got a couple of top recommendations of books that you might suggest?
The Simon Sinek ones are really good. I haven't read any Brené Brown books. I've seen a lot of her stuff on YouTube and on Netflix. Her Netflix doco was unbelievable. Like how she's mixed humour into a really important message. I mean, she's bordering on a comedian. Like, she's very, very entertaining.
She's hilarious. She's so down to earth, isn't she? She's brilliant. Yeah.
Like, it was very, very entertaining to watch, but with a really, really great message. But she delivers it in such a great way, and easy to understand, and easy to watch and listen. She was fantastic. So the books that there's one that Simon did. I think it's called The Circle of Safety. So he talks about making your team and your people feel safe. So one of the things that this is just a thing that I do. So I won't let because we've got a pretty big office, and the doors are open and stuff like that. So I'm always the last to leave. If there's in particular a female here, I would never leave a female here on her own. Not that I'm this big hulking person. So something would happen.
Yeah.
What I do.
A side career insecurity. Yeah.
I just feel like I should be the last person. And he talks about being the last he talks a lot about the military, and he talks about, like the officers were the last ones to eat.
This is Leaders Eat Last, is that?
Leaders Eat Last, that's the name of the book.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Leaders Eat Last, that's the name of the book. Yes.
Yeah, awesome. And he's got Start With Why, and I think there's another, I can't recall, I had it on audio. Yeah, anyhow, I'll drop it in there.
Yeah, so that one was really good. Like, that really resonated with me. About that book was that's probably been my favourite book. I've just started one by an emotional intelligence one by Daniel Goleman, I think his name is.
Okay.
So I've only just started. I've read like 10 pages. So I've only just picked it up. So I'm really looking forward to that one, because that came with really, really good reviews. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'd love sinking my teeth into a brand new book, especially after good recommendations.
Yeah,
awesome. Now, you and I actually met at Casey when you were giving a presentation. I spoke to you afterwards. So I know that you, continuing on in the generosity piece, I know that you were a sponsor down at Casey where I played football last couple of years. And you have quite an involvement in football and women's sport outside of that. And I know that there's a passion business project, and I'd love to hear about that and share a little bit about that and why and how that came about. Well,
the player management came about because one of the girls that I do her tax return, Elise Villani, I mean, she's played for Australia for probably 10 years. I mean, hasn't played for Australia for probably about 12 months, maybe 18 months. So I've known her for over 10 years. So she was only young. So she was playing for Victoria. A friend of mine worked for Cricket Victoria, and he recommended me, and she came in to get her tax done. But as the women's game has evolved in cricket circles and the money, like, I mean, I know what she earned before, and I know what she earns now, and it's world art, like absolute worlds of art. Yeah. So there's a bit more professionalism have come into it. So she asked me if I would be her manager. Now, I didn't really know anything about being a player manager. So I looked into it. It looked relatively straightforward. And utilising skills that I've already got, so negotiation skills and finance skills, relationship skills. And so I did the course and I got my accreditation. At that point in time, I had no intentions of being a player manager per se. I really just wanted to look after Elise because she's a friend. Mm. And, at that point in time, I didn't even charge her for the service, because realistically, I didn't really know what I was doing initially. So I felt it very difficult to charge someone for something that I wasn't really that skilled in. But, I'm pretty tenacious when it comes to learning, and, so I wanted to know what I was doing, and, I learned, I think I learned relatively quickly. There is a real gap in representation of female cricketers. So not even all, so there's probably 30% of the contracted women players that don't have a manager. Mm. One, they don't think they need a manager, or they just haven't met the right person, or whatever that may well be.
No education around it, like that kind of support or pathway.
Probably. Yeah. But part of the reason is, like if you're a young Australian cricketer now, I mean, the income is pretty good for a young 20, 21, 22-year-old girl.
Yeah. Silvio, I have to ask, and you can tell me to rack off, but is it enough to be able to live without having to have a job?
Oh, absolutely. If you're an Australian cricketer now, yes, you wouldn't have to have a secondary income. Yeah. And look, even as a state cricketer, you'd have to supplement your income a bit, but not a lot. Mm-hmm. Not a lot. I mean, it's it's of a reasonable standard. I mean, when you compare it to the men, ridiculously different, so the, an Australian male contracted cricketer probably earns anywhere between 5 to 10 times more. So there's still a pretty big gap.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's a massive gap. I can't help but go to like thinking, footy, of course, and netball, my background, and just where that you can't live on a full time, you can't live without having to work as well.
Holly, I did a tax return of an AFLW player. You can't tell you her name. Of course.
Yeah.
But I was like, my expectation wasn't that the money wasn't going to be great, but I was surprised at how low it was. Like, I expected it to be low in comparison, because I've got some knowledge of it from, doing a lot of cricketers' tax returns. Yeah. But I was amazed at how low it was. Like, it was like insulting.
Yeah.
Like,
for a professional sport, Silvio, man, it makes my blood boil.
Yeah. So my part of my motivation of wanting to increase the number of female cricketers that I look after is to bridge that gap. So how can I influence their income? So by, getting them to promote products, obviously, negotiating contracts a little bit harder than they probably did, and advising them of what their worth is. So I don't have an emotional attachment to them as such. I mean, I care about them a lot, and I want to help them as much as I can. But, when I'm negotiating on their behalf, like, I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it for them. So I can take the emotion out of it and just treat it as a normal contractual or negotiation, like I would in the accounting world or the financial planning world or my background. The girls, because they've been so underrepresented, they didn't know what their worth is. Like, they had no idea what their actual worth is, from how many Instagram followers they had or how much that could influence potential advertisers or anything like that. I don't think they'd sort of had anyone speak to them about what they were going to do after cricket or after sport. So I'm encouraging a lot of them to go to uni and to pursue other passions. So, Elisa's passion is the media. So, we engaged with Channel 7 and, we got her a gig on Channel 7 and she's done some commentary with SEN. And it's been quite an easy transition for her. She's got a great personality. She's just good. She's just a really good egg, Yeah.
That's such a life-changing thing to give these women.
Oh, look, absolutely. And, and I've learned from them as well, learned about different products. Some of them have told me about different things that they need, so apparently your hair can stick up a certain way with a particular powder.
Okay, yep.
So that dry powder is,
dry shampoo. Yeah.
So I had no idea what that was. I didn't know that was a thing.
Welcome.
So I know about all these different things, but again, from the cricket world, like, the pay has improved. It's got a long way to go, but it's improved. But the gear, it's not tailored for a woman at all. So cricket bats, pads, thigh pads, they're all made for men, and women just have to cater to that. So they're using small sizes, but so effectively they're using a boy's, so smaller hands. So they use a boy's glove. So it's not a ladies' glove. It's a boys' glove. So again, we've got a long way to go with that. So a lot of women cricketers just have normal runners and they put spikes into them. ASIC have only just now released a female-only cricket spike. I'm talking, this is it within the last 6 months.
Wow.
So women have been playing cricket for, I don't know, 150 years. I don't know, but it's a long time.
How do we accelerate this? Because there's changes, but we're slow, and there's a lot of work to be done because now women are rushing into sport, and the numbers are growing, but the foundations aren't there.
So to me, and I just go back to my accounting background and commerciality background. I just can't understand how you wouldn't be catering for a female cricketer. They're everywhere. The growth in women's cricket is massive, huge. The numbers are massive. So, if I was a shoe manufacturer, I'd be thinking, well, wouldn't I want to tap into that market?
Yeah.
I've
got some curiosity about that, Silvio, because I wonder, it's often a conversation that I've heard many times, and I've been pondering this a lot lately. Women's sport is absolutely booming. There's more numbers than there's ever been or ever had. There are, to get your brand out there, or from a sponsorship perspective, there is a wealth of opportunity. But the reason why we say we can't pay the athletes is because we don't have enough sponsors, or they don't have enough, we don't have enough support or sponsorships, I guess, or partners. Is that the reality, or what's your view on it?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting concept. I think sometimes it's the fear of the unknown. So women's cricket, the Big Bash, they've only just really, it was season 5 or season 6, and they've only really just started to show it on the TV. The ratings are good. It's a really, really good product. So I think if people actually take the chance and show it, people watch it. People love watching sport.
Yeah.
Whether it's a male playing sport or a female playing sport, to me, it makes no difference to me. And the greatest example of that is tennis. So just as many people go to watch the women's final as they do the men's final, but they've got the opportunity to go and watch it. They do it on a separate night. So if people don't, if networks don't take the chance and show the sport, well, advertisers aren't open to it. So they really, it's the networks that really are in control of this, I think, because if they show the product, people will watch it because the product's really good.
Do you think there's people out there driving that, it's just this obvious thing that there are opportunities, there are businesses who would want to contribute and people who would love to receive the contribution? Is it that there's no one actually out there owning it and doing it, or it's just...
Well, and it gets back to the equality piece, so I look at, I look at a couple of the boards that I'm on. There's no females on these boards. So that's the first problem. So that's the first problem. So how am I, as a middle-aged white man, meant to know what a 21-year-old female would like? I don't have my own children, so I don't have that experience. So that's the greatest thing about the gender equality discussion. How am I meant to advertise to a woman? I don't know the products. I don't know. I don't have that knowledge. So, you hear this argument, it shouldn't just be 50-50 of women in management boards or whatever it might be. Well, yeah, it should be, because the population is about 50-50.
Yeah, and we need the diversity. We need it.
You know, because I know what I like, but I don't necessarily know what you like. I could guess, but I could imagine that I would be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, to me, that's the equality piece. It's purely because as a consumer, I'm only 50% of the consumer. Males, we're only 50% of the consumers. So the equality piece is not about, you know, giving a woman a job over a man. It's not about that at all. It's about connection. So a woman is going to connect better with a woman consumer. That to me is just obvious.
Completely.
You know, so there's more women in broadcasting, until there's more women in production, all those things, we're going to lag behind. But it'll get better. And cricket's actually been pretty good at it. You know, there's trailblazers like Mel Jones and Lisa Stalaker that are fantastic commentators. Elisa's a really good commentator. Julia Price is great on the commentary. So these former, you know, high-level cricketers, you know, are sort of paving the way a little bit. Tennis is good because the revenues are the same because the exposure's been the same. So it comes down to exposure. Now, I mean, most of my mates that love cricket are now watching the women's cricket because it's on the TV. You know, so I'll get a text message. Oh, did you just see the 4 release hit, or did Sophie just hit a 6? You know, so we're now starting to talk about it. You know, so it'll be that evolution that hopefully happens sooner rather than later. But they just have to show it. If they show it, people will watch it, and if people will watch it, revenues will grow.
So we need to get
that might be a simplistic thought process, but you know, I think it's quite simple. And if people are watching it on TV, they'll go and watch it live.
Yeah. It's such a big topic. I mean,
it's
going a million different directions with you now because that just opens up a whole entire can of worms. I won't do that today. Maybe we can chat about that another time over a latte somewhere. But I'd love to know from you about the player management piece, what that's kind of given you, because I know that you've got a lot on your plate. You know, you've got you're on some boards, and you've got your business and your own interests in life, as well as the player management. What gives you the kind of energy to continue to do that and fit that in?
Oh, look, I've always loved helping people. So I find that it's, you know, helping people. So I love doing that. But mixing the helping people with my business skills and sport, it's just a natural gravitation to that. So I just sort of make the time, you know, like you'll find time if you really want to do something, you know, you'll find the time to do it. You'll make the time to do it. So, and I see it as a bit of my transition out of my current job. I mean, I still love what I do in the accounting and financial planning world, you know, and I hope to do it for quite some time. But, you know, do I want to be 60 still being an accountant? Probably not. But I would love to still be doing player management at that point in time. So it's sort of a transition to retirement for me. But mixing all the things that I love doing, helping people, sport, and negotiations and relationships. So it's just a merger of all the things that I love to do.
I love that you shared that so much, because that's becoming a theme in these conversations where people have just followed what it is that they love or gone with something that they enjoy, and then all of a sudden this new pathway, something opens up that may not have happened. And yours is such a beautiful example of that.
Yeah, I just, yeah, it's. I mean, imagine being in a position where you're paid to do something that you love. I mean, I've been lucky that I've been doing that for 29 years, really, because I love what I do, and this is just an extension of that.
And had you not followed that, then all of these women and this thing would not have been born. So it's amazing.
Yeah, well, look, we now manage 11. I manage now 11 professional cricketers, and and they've been very kind at referring me and things like that. And do I have what some of the bigger talent management firms have? Probably not, but I think what I lack in that I make up for in genuine care for people and that relationship piece, and but also that financial management as well. So there's a few clients now that have on my advice have bought their own property and things like that. So starting to have those wealth creation advice. Some of them have bought some shares, and I get a real thrill out of seeing them prosper, because they possibly didn't have that kind of advice before.
Absolutely. Well, Silvio, thank you so much for all of your insights, sharing your knowledge, your generosity, and all of the amazing stuff that you are doing out in this world. I'm so thankful I got to have this conversation, and I get to now help spread the word for all the cool stuff that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Oh, no worries. Look, thanks for thinking that I was interesting enough to talk to.
Of course. I'll leave it there for today, but thank you again. And we'll see each other soon, no doubt.
All right, terrific.
Thanks, Silvio.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. You don't have to jump off, though.
Okay.
I just for the end of the recording, I should have told you that at the start, but thank you so much.
Oh, no worries.
It goes so fast. That went so quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just don't sort of realise, sometimes you sort of lose a little bit of focus of what you do and why you do it. And so things like this, I get as much value out of them. I hope that you did, because it just sort of reiterates that you're on the right track and you're doing something right. So, which is, it's nice to know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the conundrum of how we continue to promote female sport and female pay equality and gender equality. I mean, I would love to be part of that wave, because I believe in it, quite passionately, because and again I'm able to use I suppose the sensible side of my brain, or whatever you want to call it. But to me, it's just it just comes down to commerciality. Why wouldn't you want to market to 50% of the population? It just makes absolutely no sense to me.
That's what I've had that conversation come up a couple of times. That's why I asked about it, because it's like the opportunities are there for sponsorship and from a commercial perspective, it's absolutely there. So I've been thinking, why is it not? Why is it not being utilized? Is there just no one that goes out and literally has that job not been created, or is no one driving that agenda? Why not?
Yeah, and it's one of the things. I mean, I look at the composition of my team. And I certainly know what my strengths and weaknesses are. But one of my weaknesses is coordination, and organising things. So one of the managers in my team, Carlia, that is she just does it automatically. So when we were picking teams, roles in the team, I mean, I picked her straight away. She was the first person I picked. So the first two people I picked in my team, were Melissa, who's worked with us now for over 20 years, because she's just so strong technically, and she's so patient and such a good trainer, all the things that I'm not. And Carlia, who's such a great organiser. So unfortunately for them, they've got to stick it, they've got to put up with me. But I picked her because they complemented my weaknesses. So for the team to function really well, like I need them more than they need me.
Yeah.
It's like, so they're they're critical, like absolutely critical to the high functioning team.
Yeah,
because
it's
without
just like
them,
sport, isn't it? You pick the people, you look at the list, and you pick the people that you're gonna need in your side, and you make the best choice based on the position.
Yeah. So I think it's really, it's quite, and the AFL, the AFLW is a good example. So it starts on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Well, they've sold it out, and they're charging now.
Yeah.
They're 3,500 paid tickets. Even if it's 3,000 paid tickets, like the bulk of them will be people are paying.
Yeah.
So, and people will watch it. I'll watch
it. Definitely.
Yeah, I'll watch. My wife barracks for Collingwood, I barrack for Richmond, so we'll at least watch those two.
Yeah.
And then there's a few girls that I know that play, so I'll watch the Bulldogs. I'll watch Melbourne.
Yeah.
So there's probably at least 3 games a week I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky. My Vicky loves sport just as much as me, so she loves cricket, basketball. Like, we watch a lot of sport.
Yeah, that's handy.
There's no arguments about the remote of where it is. On the sport channel of just whatever sport we're watching, but it'll be sport.
Yeah.
8% of the things we watch is sport. So we'll be watching that, and it's just that education piece.
Yeah.
People will watch it if they show it.
If
they don't show it on TV, people can't watch it.
Yeah.
So it's really the networks having that courage.
Yeah.
To show the game.
Yeah.
Now, again, the TV rights, like Fox Footy needs content.
Yeah.
They need content. So part of that TV right, the content is around part of the content is AFLW. So part of that $1 billion TV rights, it is part of it is towards the women. So they deserve some of the revenue.
Yeah. Completely. It's even at the VFL level, it's like, it's so bad. We don't get paid a cent. And this year we're Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and weekends. And then the expectation around time commitment and energy is all the same. However, the contracts are very different.
Oh, ridiculously different. Oh, look, Holly, like I said, I expected it to be less.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be less.
Yeah.
But I was shocked at how low it was. Like a tier 4 player is getting like 14,000. They've been training for like 4 months.
Yeah.
So it would be costing. So
ridiculous.
One of the Richmond girls who I know, Courtney Wakefield, like, she lives in Mildura. It would cost her money to play. It would be costing her money to play. She wouldn't make a cent out of playing in the AFLW.
And then have to support herself.
Yeah, so and she's got to leave her kids, and like it's not fair. Like it's not fair, and it's like any sort of investment, So it's no different to putting on an apprentice. So you have to pay an apprentice at the start. You obviously pay them less as the skills are less, but they increase significantly as the skills get better.
Yeah.
So imagine how good the standard of AFLW would be if they were paid properly and they could train properly.
Yeah. This,
The standard would increase exponentially.
yeah.
But someone needs to make that investment. Someone needs to take that gamble, show it on TV, show it on prime time, and the rate, people will watch it. People will watch it.
There's so many things that are, like, go around in circles. It seems like, through us talking, that, you know, so they need to back it and sponsor it so that we do get the recognition, and then people will watch it, and then it will grow. And then, but if they don't, then it doesn't grow. And then if they don't support them financially, then it doesn't grow. But if they don't grow, they're not going to support them financially. It's like, how the hell is it? But
some of that revenue, like if they chose the revenue streams better, so I'm sure that there's a million women's brands that would sponsor the AFLW or women's sport, you know, for a captive audience. So whether it be perfume, leggings, runners, hair products, makeup, whatever it is. Now that revenue, so you might say that, okay, we've got production costs and we've got stuff that we've got to pay for, but you might say that 50% of all the revenue, sponsorship revenue generated, doesn't go to the Channel 7 shareholders, it goes to the women to pay them properly. So they don't have to work a full-time job and then leave a full-time job and drive to training and then drive home and not get home till 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And be paid a pittance to do that for the commitment. So it's that, you know, so that is going to take a long time to change. It shouldn't, because it should just be a commercial decision.
Yeah.
Just come down to a commercial decision. A commercial decision is simple to me. So it's complicating, I think, quite a simple issue. You know, if you show it and you filter the money the right way, it'll grow, and it'll grow quite quickly.
Yeah, it is quite simple.
Yeah, I think it's quite simple. You know, then you're not, you know, and again, you know, so my goddaughter, so she's been playing footy since she was 8, and she shows, you know, quite some talent. She's got, you know, her dad's tall, and, you know, so she's quite an athletic kid. But and she's non-stop footy, like she absolutely loves it. But if she was lucky enough to get drafted when she turns 18, she's going to have been playing for 10 years. So rather than having to recruit, you know, Shani Layton, who's great from a marketing point of view, and look, and she's picked it up quick because she's an elite athlete.
She's gotten better.
Yeah.
But she's not a footballer, a natural born footballer.
No, she's not a natural footballer. So imagine someone like, if they were paid properly, someone like Shani Layton might not go to netball. She might go straight to football.
Yeah.
Like the young Shani Layton.
Yeah.
And that's where they've got to get to.
Yeah.
So now, if you were a 15-year-old or 16-year-old girl, and you'd weigh up the offer for netball. So if you could go into super netball, so they're probably earning 80, 100 grand.
Yeah, I think the top paid netball is like 90 grand or something. We were talking about it this week.
You know, so, or you could go to footy at 14.
And 90 is low. Like 90 is obscene, you know?
Yeah, 90 is low too. Yeah, for a high, you know, for a top level sport.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Like, again, you know, so the Super Netball, they show that on Channel 9. We watch it. We don't watch every game, but we'll definitely watch the Victorian teams.
Yeah.
You know, so because it's good. And to watch live, it's fast, it's skillful. These are powerful, athletic women.
Yeah.
You know, it's entertaining. It's really entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, it's good to watch. It's great to watch live.
Yeah.
It's really good to watch live.
They make it look very easy.
They do make it look very, very easy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to keep up with the ball.
Yeah,
They
I know.
move
They're
it so quick.
amazing athletes.
Yeah, they are amazing. That's a good way to describe them. They're amazing athletes.
Yeah.
So yeah, the TV coverage, I think, is the critical point. It has to be shown on TV.
Mm.
If it's not shown on TV, and preferably free-to-air TV,
Yeah.
it's very difficult.
Mm.
It's very, very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So until it's shown on TV,
Yeah.
and you know that's the difference between even in the NBL, when it was floundering when it wasn't on TV.
Yeah.
But now it's sort of starting to make a resurgence because they're showing it on TV.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. But I've really enjoyed the chat, Holly.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.